The imposition of tariffs by the United States has far-reaching consequences, not just for our economy, but for the global landscape. When the U.S. slaps tariffs on imported goods, it's like throwing a stone into a pond. The ripples extend far beyond the initial splash. Other nations, particularly those heavily reliant on exports to the U.S., feel the impact immediately. They face higher costs for their goods, which can lead to a decline in sales and ultimately economic strain. Take China, for example. When tariffs were increased, they didn't just sit back and take it. Instead, they pivoted. They sought new markets, diversified their trade partnerships, and even retaliated with their own tariffs. This wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction, it was a strategic move to reduce dependency on the U.S. market. In the long run, this could lead to a more fragmented global trade system where countries are less reliant on the U.S. and more focused on regional trade agreements. Now, let's consider the European Union. They've been vocal about U.S. tariffs, and their response has been to strengthen their own trade policies. They've looked to negotiate better deals with other countries, effectively creating a counterbalance to U.S. economic power. This could mean that in the future, the U.S. finds itself isolated as other nations band together to create a more unified front against American tariffs. And what about emerging markets? Countries in Africa and Southeast Asia are watching closely. They see an opportunity to fill the gaps left by U.S. tariffs. By positioning themselves as alternative suppliers, they can attract businesses that are looking for cheaper options. This could lead to a shift in the global supply chain, where the U.S. finds itself competing with nations it previously overlooked. Moreover, the political ramifications are significant. Countries that feel the brunt of U.S. tariffs may become less inclined to cooperate on other issues, such as climate change or security. They might view the U.S. as a bully, and that perception can lead to long-term diplomatic rifts. The world is interconnected, and trade relationships are often tied to broader political alliances. If the U.S. continues down this path, it risks alienating allies and empowering adversaries. In the future, nations will likely use these tariffs as leverage. They might form coalitions to counter U.S. policies, using their collective economic power to negotiate better terms. Imagine a scenario where countries band together to create a tariff-free zone, effectively sidelining the U.S. This could reshape global trade dynamics, making it harder for the U.S. to impose its will on the international stage. In conclusion, the consequences of U.S. tariffs extend far beyond immediate economic impacts. They set off a chain reaction that could redefine global trade relationships, empower emerging markets, and alter diplomatic ties. The world is watching, and how other nations respond will shape the future of international trade for years to come. The question remains, will the U.S. adapt, or will it find itself increasingly isolated in a world that's moving on?